Hello viewers! As you probably know, removing and changing the wheels on a car is one of the most straightforward jobs. You just jack it up in the air, undo the lug nuts and the wheel is off. This is unless you get stopped by stuck lug nuts or the wheel itself. Besides being inconvenient, having a stuck wheel is for most extremely frustrating. There are, however, some simple tricks that can help you get past the problem, which we were going to cover in this video. In addition, we'll see why wheels and lug nuts get stuck in the first place, and lastly find out how to prevent this from happening. But before all that, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button. At this point, I would usually draw a diagram of a sort to make an explanation easier. But in case of wheels and the nuts holding it in place, that's probably not necessary. Instead, let's first see what might be causing the problem and figure out what to do. The automotive wheel is held in place on the hub with several bolts or lugs. In addition, the hub has this edge on its center, whose purpose is to perfectly align the wheel. But if you drive your car in an area with a lot of snow, dirt or road salt, these elements can get in between the rims and hubs where they cause corrosion. And the resulting buildups, if substantial enough, can make removing the wheel almost impossible. Effectively, much more force will be needed to break up these buildups. Even more, you have the lug nuts themselves, which have to be tightened up quite a lot. And in most cases, undoing them is a simple job. But sometimes a previous owner or a mechanic in a workshop may have over-tightened them, which makes unbolting seemingly impossible. Although there are effective ways of solving this problem, we won't cover them here, as there will be a separate video covering stuck lug nuts. Instead, let's find out what you could do if your wheel is stuck on the hub. With all lug nuts successfully loosened and removed, you may find out that the wheel is stuck. Despite pulling and wiggling as much as you can, it just doesn't want to come off, as if it's welded to the hub. And instead of trying to muscle your way through this problem, you should be clever and use some of the following tricks. All of the methods that will be shown are equally efficient, and it's up to you to decide which to use. But in any case, take all precautionary steps such as putting the car on jack stands and choking the wheels. Option 1. For a start, try lubricating the area where the wheel meets the hub and dissolving the rust buildups. This is best done using a rust removal spray such as PB Blazer or liquid wrench. Use this to spray the lug nuts and the edge where the wheel sits on the central hub. Wait for some 15 minutes and then try to get the wheel loose again by giving it a slight punch or kick. Option 2. If arms weren't strong enough, you could always use your foot. With the car laying securely on jack stands, undo all lug nuts except one and then kick the tire on its edge. The force generated by this should be enough to break up even the most severe rust buildups. You'll probably have to do this several times, but with continuous effort the wheel should separate from the hub. Option 3. Next, we have a method that, from my experience, has proven to be the most effective, as it has unstuck wheels so many times. It involves using a long crowbar, which you'll place between the rim and an appropriate suspension component. This can be a wheel spindle or control arm, depending on where you can find a good location. You need to be a little bit careful with this technique though, as it may damage the rim. The best way to avoid this is by placing a piece of wood between the crowbar and the wheel. Option 4. Now, this is an old school trick that many mechanics have used over the years when not being able to get the wheel off the hub. Start by just slightly loosening all lug nuts while the car is on the ground. And by that I mean something like half a turn. Then fire up the engine and drive your car a few feet forward and backward. Repeat this process on level ground and then jack up the car and remove the nuts. The wheel should have loosened and you should now be able to remove it. Still, ensure that when driving the car, the lug nuts are not so loose that they fall off, and drive super slowly so as not to risk any accidents. Option 5. Hammer is one of those tools that will solve many things, and a stuck wheel is one of them. However, using it for such an application is tricky, as you may easily damage the rim. Or if not careful enough, you might accidentally hit something else while swinging the hammer around. But still, this is one of the methods that can help you with a stuck wheel. Besides a big and heavy hammer, you'll need a piece of 2x4 wood. Place it on the inner side of the rim and then hit it firmly with a hammer. With enough effort, you should be able to free up that stuck wheel. Once the stuck wheel is finally off, certain steps should be taken to prevent this from happening in the future. One thing's for sure, you don't want to go through this ordeal once again. Start by removing rust from the hub surface using wire brush. Put some effort while doing so and make sure the metal is free of any traces of corrosion. And then, apply a thin layer of grease on these freshly cleaned surfaces. This will prevent rust buildups from forming, making the next wheel change a hustless task. So have these tricks helped you to finally remove that stuck wheel? If they have, don't forget to clean the hubs thoroughly so you don't have this problem the next time when the wheels have to go off. And also give us a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel as we have a lot of similar videos coming up.